Unsolicited advice. So this section was originally, what the bleep have you done for the label? But I'm the only one who seems to be doing anything for the label, people. So I'm doing that hyperbolically. Brandon helped us with some graphic work. Jennifer's been helping with the website. Eugene helped us with some graphic work, and Eugene's helping us get some stickers going. We're going to have stickers coming. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
But ultimately, every week, I sit down and I go, what have you done for the label this week? And what have you done for the label this week?
I helped you redo the contract last night.
That's right. Anything else?
I've been working on the indemnity wording for people to send you submissions.
3 sentences. It just needs to be 3 sentences.
No, Dawn.
Needs to be simple.
3 sentences are not enough.
Ugh.
Unless we're talking, Bob Dylan book kind of deal.
So the whole point is, if you send me the music, you have to indemnify me from claiming that I somehow stole it from you later. I have ears. I can't help it, right? If I hear something that catches my ear, it'll knock around in my brain for a decade and then come out a different way. And it's not stealing a whole song, but I mean, that's how music works, is you hear something and you latch on to it.
What's that phrase? It's not plagiarism unless it doesn't improve on what you stole?
Yeah, that makes sense. Though, I don't know. Depending on who sends me what, I don't know that I could improve it. But, so that's the indemnity wording.
And once we have that finished, it will be up on the website so that when you send on something, you can just copy and paste it into the body of your email and then with your signature at the bottom.
No, I'm just going to put it between the button and the submit. You've
got it set up that way? Okay.
Yeah. So when you submit, it'll just
that works too.
Before you click submit, you have to understand that you are sending this to me and I'm going to listen to it. I'm not going to steal the whole... I will never steal your whole song. I will never steal your audio and pass it around or sell it. But if there's a musical idea in there and it comes out later, don't sue me. I'm just a guy. So...
Well, you're not taking the whole piece or anything. You're just taking the one little bit that...
Right. It might be 3 notes in a
doing.
row that catches my ear. And it wouldn't be like
it's
a
the same
thick thing.
It's the same problem if you turn off on the radio and listen to something that's playing on there and go, oh, that's an interesting idea.
Every day, all day.
Yeah.
That's basically how musicians get to become musicians.
Yeah, art's not made in a vacuum.
No.
A lot of people go up to employees that work at video game companies and start pitching them game ideas, and they're just like, no.
Yeah.
Because you can't even hear
listen
it.
to that.
You can't even listen to it unless they solicit it for you. So I'm soliciting from the general public with the understanding of this is the reality, is you may hear a turn of phrase or I just don't know. Just don't go suing me. So
Your little...
my little what? Oh, leave it alone.
Sorry, I saw it and it started bothering me.
So, but instead of all that, I wanted to do unsolicited advice. So, hey, if you're doing the exact speed limit, get the heck out of the left lane. Cody, you got some unsolicited advice for the public?
Don't stop making art.
Don't stop making art.
Like, for serious, don't stop making art.
Right.
Make bad art. Keep making bad art until it's good art.
Well, art is
Subjective.
Right.
so subjective.
Right, but it doesn't matter if what you think you're making is bad. Keep doing it until you think what you're making is good.
Right. And the difference between good and bad art oftentimes is the details.
Right, and it's also personally subjective.
It's personally subjective, but it's also it's a summarization of the detail. It's the sum of the details coming together.
Yeah, but the process is more important than the end product.
Okay, we're going to disagree on that one because my mantra is all that matters is output. There'll be a video right over George where I say this.
Right, but that does create output. But the process of creating it is the art. The output is just the end product of said art.
Yeah, we've been kicking this around. There's a paradox with art that what happens is that art is not created in a vacuum, like you said. Like the question is, when you're playing alone in your room to the wall and nobody is there, is that art?
Yes.
I disagree, sir.
I have a very liberal definition of art.
Clearly.
It's anything that is basically anything that's created. So me talking right now is a form of art.
What you just described is artistic intent. So you can have artistic intent, but it is not art until it reaches the audience. And that audience, whoever it may be.
That's an unnecessary baggage to me. It doesn't seem to be necessary for something to be considered art. If you make an album and no one hears it but yourself, that's still art.
Not until somebody else hears it.
I don't think that that's a necessary component.
You've made artistic output, but it doesn't become art until the collaborative experience between the audience and the artist happens. Because that's how art is. That's why
That's
there's
a fallacy.
Something
That's
about
not an
circular
argument,
logic?
But
wait.
Something about circular logic?
Hold on. So really though, is it art?
Yeah.
So you say it is, even if it's in a.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna disagree
Our conversation right now, I would consider as art because
because we're putting it up on YouTube.
right.
But there's an audience there. If we were doing this in a room by ourselves, we're just having an argument.
I would still call that art.
That's
I have
not
a
art.
very liberal definition. I had to remove all concepts of the qualitative to what something is as art. As long as you think it's art, it's art.
So I do draw a line that until there's an audience, you're practicing. And when I say an audience, I mean an intended audience. Until you're intentionally making it for other people to consume, you're practicing. So if you want to try to argue with me that I'm gonna make 100 hours of recorded material and never show it to anybody, and hopefully, and then I'm going, so why?
Because that's their artistic intention.
Yeah, but it's not art because it will wind up in a landfill and be lost forever because it will decay.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're making poor decisions on what to do with it, but that doesn't change the fact that it is, in fact, art.
I think you're like I said, my stance on it is you're just practicing until you're doing it in front of an audience.
I don't agree.
That's fine.
you make it
No.
really extreme. I feel like all of the practice I do juggling like 10 hours a week, like I feel like that contributes to what I'm capable of and what I can do in the future. And I think that's art. I think that practice is art because I'm refining my medium. I'm refining what I'm capable of.
I think you're honing your craft. That's why I call it practice.
But that's the other thing is I think of art.
I still think
as-
that's artistic.
the art is the process, not the product. The end result.
Artistic, I will give you. But
But-
like I said, to me, art is the moment of collaboration,
I can agree with that.
Between
Like
the
art
art-
is like the creation of a work.
and
rather than,
it's the creation of a work meeting the consumption of the work.
I don't agree with
No.
that.
You need the audience. An
No,
artist
you
without an
don't.
audience is not an artist.
Like there's the sorry, go ahead.
If an artist, like, and I'm gonna go with I'm just gonna pick a medium here. If a painter makes a painting and it's just sits in their bedroom and it doesn't get put out until after their death, are they still an artist?
Yes, and here's why: there's an intended audience there if they put it in their bedroom. Because it's not just them who sleeps in their bedroom, but it's anybody they invite into their bedroom.
But what if they never invite anybody into their bedroom?
Well,
Are they still an artist? I mean, they did create a work of art.
What if they take that painting and then put another painting in front of it? Some piece of crap you buy off the internet, right? Then hide that painting until after they
Yeah, but-
passed away.
But
But
they're
then you're
still an
intent-
artist. They still created that work of art. Whether or not you can see it is irrelevant.
it's not a work of art until
No, it is a work
other
of
people
art.
see it.
It-
It's artistic output.
What
until
about
other
what about
people.
the sand paintings where they will do an entire artistic work with sand, and as soon as it's done, they blow it away
And why do we know about them?
because
Because-
generally you will have people watching them do it, but people do that without anyone watching.
And when
And-
they're doing it without anybody watching, they're practicing.
No, that's
No.
the art.
Disagree, guys. And this is a healthy disagreement. What I want to know is what you think in the comments. Do you agree with Cody? Do you agree with Chris? Do you agree with George? Is art truly the moment of collaboration between two people? That collaboration between the artist and their audience, as I say? Or is it pure, or can art purely be done But
Art's a
any
verb.
painting.
Is there really a reason to trust the disco duck, the like irrational id expressing his inner desires out to the audience, or do you want to trust these three rational people that have more reasonable opinions?
So there's a couple logical fallacies there. I should
Hashtag-
remind you, sir.
Hashtag mob rule.
You had the hashtag mob rule. Also, you had the appeal to the mass,
Yep.
and I think there was an appeal to intellect. Right?
Yes.
Every smart person would agree that art is only at the point of collaboration between the viewer.
Otherwise, he'd be dumb and he'd be agreeing with disco duck. That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. So, and this is what's driving these guys nuts, is that it's like, oh man, he just turned that around. No, really though, I want you to think about this before you leave the comment, right? I want the last word. It's my show.
The fact that you want the last word just because it's your show. No, that's your personality, dear.
That is my personality. Don't you dare get into an argument with me on the internet.
Hashtag gracious.
So gracious. No, is that art? The whole reason we have critical reception of art.
But you just immediately
Why-
defined it as critical reception.
Why do you need critical reception of it?
Because that is,
Art can just exist.
it can't just exist.
It can. It totally can.
If you build this,
If you paint a painting in the woods and nobody's around to see it, is it still a painting?
Yes.
It's still art.
because the birds are going to look at it.
What's the MGM motto? Art gratis? Art something?
You're
art,
making bird art.
art for art's sake?
I don't know.
It's the one that's on above their logo. I can't remember.
Either way, it's super important to practice. I hope everybody understands that.
Right.
It's just because I say that if you're doing this without an audience, you're practicing, doesn't mean it's not important. In fact, you should do a lot more practicing than you do making art. Your art is when you've refined it through the practice.
See, there's the qualitative part where you say that it's practice and not art.
I've already defined my lines, sir.
Right, I know.
So if you book a gig and nobody shows up, is it still art?
Yeah. Because the bartender's there, and you're playing to the bartender.
What if the gig is in the forest and you're playing a forest rave?
No.
It's
What
busted
if
by
you're
the
getting
cops.
paid in the forest?
Before the,
You're not
Someone's
getting paid.
paying you.
Yeah, you're not getting paid to play.
What
in the
if someone
forest.
does?
If somebody's paying you to play in the
Yeah,
forest,
they want
Yeah,
you to go
you've-
serenade
You've got an
squirrels.
illegal forest rave,
There
and it
you
gets
go.
busted by the cops,
already
so everyone
defined your
who's heading
audience.
out there has been routed back out, and you're still out there, and you're playing to zero audience. Is that art?
No, you're practicing.
How is that practicing?
Because eventually you'll be like, nobody's here. Let's have a beer and rehearse. It turns into a rehearsal on stage. And by the way, I'm putting too much emphasis on the audience, right? To me, art is when artistic intent meets the audience. And the artistic intent is what you guys are all describing as art. And I understand that. I respect that view. But it's not. It's artistic intent. It's output with artistic intent. But art is when you connect with your audience on an emotional level or an intellectual level, on a deeper level than just be. It's not art if it's just on a wall because it needs to take up space. It's art when you look at it and you feel something. And the only
I think there's a difference between practice and art, though, and that practicing is like learning the medium, learning discrete things about
Sure.
the medium so that you can combine those together and do what you're trying to do. But you can still make art in the sense that you can produce a work.
Mhm.
And I don't think an audience is necessary to experience that work in order for that to still be art.
I understand you disagree.
Why do you need an audience to feel something? Like if I make a painting and the painting makes me feel, isn't that art?
The painting.
Why do I need a second?
Because you're the
Person.
initial audience in that.
If you
situation.
define,
Sure,
listen,
but why
listen,
do you
if
need like
if you're
another
gonna-
person? Why do you need a?
Yeah, no, listen, if your intended audience is yourself, have fun. Just don't ask me to care,
Well, that's fair.
right? Have fun. But but the problem is that it's so easy to do that and become so self-absorbed. And it turns into, and she's laughing, she's going self-absorbed. You disappear up your own hind end. when you say I'm the only audience I want to please. But the paradox that we all have to live with is your art has to please the audience, but you can't try to please your audience because then you're pandering, and thus you lose your artistic intent. This is why it's an interesting debate. But I still say, and that's why, but the audience is always still part of that. And that's why it's art. If you make art for yourself, yeah, okay, call it art. Don't show it to me.
That's fair. I never said
You
that
know.
anyone needed to.
Don't show it to the world.
It might be terrible.
And don't get mad at me when I tell you you're practicing.
Art, for me, does not mean something is good. There's plenty
That's
of
true.
really
it
awful
doesn't
art.
mean it's good. It just,
That's true.
you know, good is subjective.
True.
What I think is good, you hate, and what you think is good, I hate.
How the hell do we stay married?
Disco lights.
Disco lights.
Yeah, it's probably the safer answer than what I was going to say.
All right.
Don't want to say it on the podcast?
No.
There might be children watching.
Yeah, there's probably children watching. Though I've looked at the demographics. We haven't had any under 18, but we have a small number of people in Georgia's age demographic.
Are there none under 18, or are there none claiming that they're under 18?
That's probably the latter. But we don't age restrict these videos, even though a little cuss word comes out every now and then.
But we try to avoid them.
We try to avoid them, and be sure to hit subscribe if you've watched this far. All right.
Do we not get to give our unsolicited advice? You got to Cody, and that was about it.
George, you got unsolicited advice for the audience?
When you run into someone, like a fast food place, if they're serving you food, if they're walking around cleaning the floors or doing anything like that, I appreciate those people a lot.
Yeah.
And I think you should too, because they're making the place that you are in, the establishment that you are visiting or living in or whatever, like they're making it happen.
That's true, though the government sets the regulations on how clean the place must be, and then they're required to hire somebody to come take care of it. What irks me is that those people that work, they get paid so low that they're on public assistance. And so then my frickin' tax dollars are subsidizing these companies' payroll budgets. Pay your people appropriately. Do you have unsolicited advice?
Yes, I do have unsolicited advice. To all the straight men out there. If you are interested in a woman,
Don't grab her.
Like a first or ever?
Only when she asks.
yeah, do not get consent first. Because really, you never know when you're going to run across a woman who's either got a weapon on her or knows martial arts and can kick your butt into next week.
Chris has gotten really into Krav Maga. Krav Maga? The Israeli martial art.
Yes.
She's getting ready to tear somebody's nuts off. That's what that whole thing. It's aim for the crotch and twist.
Again, wait for me to leave until you start.
So that's our unsolicited advice
Yes.
and a long debate about art. And I wonder how much hate I'm going to get for that one. Hopefully I've inflamed somebody enough to just make me a hate page on the internet. Just help me with the
I
SEO.
mean, it's one of my favorite topics, so.
It is a great topic. We'll have to revisit that one. All right, what's next?